It was March 1984 when Time magazine published a famous issue featuring on the cover a plate containing 2 eggs cooked sunny side up and a single strip of bacon placed underneath them, kind of in the shape of a frown. And right above this sad face on the cover of Time was the word cholesterol in bold, followed by the ominous words, "And now the bad news," right below it. People opened up the magazine. They were eager to learn what was so bad about these 2 foods that they'd grown up eating. And the headline of the article read, "Sorry, it's true, cholesterol really is a killer." The article text went on to declare that cholesterol and dietary fats of the saturated persuasion are both unhealthy. It was the nutrition shot heard around the world that would spark the low-fat diet craze of the 80s and 90s and set off several decades worth of misguided dietary advice. I literally succumbed to this bad advice in the late 80s and early 90s when I was a competitive bodybuilder. I thought fat was the enemy. I ate tons of sugar, tons of carbs, and as long as it was labeled low fat or no fat, I thought it was healthy. And it was based largely upon this misinformation. In the article, the public was encouraged to avoid foods like butter in exchange for margarine, and so-called vegetable oils were pushed as a healthy alternative to animal fats. Simply put, Time's 1984 analysis of cholesterol and saturated fat could not be further from the truth. Consequently, Americans were systematically indoctrinated, driving many of them to buy more vegetable oil products, including margarine, which was marked as a healthy alternative to real butter. When evidence began trickling in to suggest that polyunsaturated fats can cause cancer, the industry switched its narrative to monounsaturated fats. And that's when we got canola oil, which is actually a hybrid of rapeseed oil and olive oil. Because it contains very little saturated fat, about 5% by volume, and higher levels of omega-3 fats, canola oil was aggressively marketed as being the true heart-healthy alternative to saturated fats. Because of the fact that olive oil was part of the Mediterranean diet, it was also marketed heavily as a healthy oil. But neither canola oil or olive oil, at least not the commercial varieties you get in the grocery store, are really all that heart healthy when you consider what typically goes into producing them. When all's said and done, they're often among the most toxic oils you can put inside your body. Here's why. One of the biggest problems with vegetable oils in general is that they're simply not stable when they're exposed to light, oxygen, and heat. They go rancid quickly. Also, most industrially processed vegetable oils, even some olive oils, are derived from plant materials using caustic chemical solvents like hexane. These solvents are mostly removed once the oils reach the refining stage of their processing, but you can still find trace amounts that can cause damage to the body. Deodorization is another problem. To get rid of the foul-smelling odors associated with rancidity and chemical processing, vegetable oils also undergo a process of deodorization that alters the structure and shape of their fatty acids. Trans fats are now known to increase your risk of heart disease. Hydrogenation was another problem. To mimic the properties of saturated fats that remain solid at room temperature, like butter and coconut oil, food manufacturers will oftentimes subject vegetable oils to a process known as hydrogenation that deliberately turns them into a semi or fully solid trans fat. Hydrogenated vegetable oils are commonly found in such things as nut butters, baked goods, fried foods, and candy. Some of the common vegetable oils that contain polyunsaturated fats include soybean, corn, sunflower, safflower, canola, sesame, peanut, and flax. Vegetable oils that are high in monounsaturated fats include olive, peanut, rapeseed, and canola oils. The intake of canola oil, especially apart from saturated fats, which actually protects it as a buffering agent, it can lead to fibrotic lesions in the heart, vitamin E deficiency, undesirable changes in blood platelet composition, a shortened lifespan resulting from the cell membranes becoming more rigid, and it can actually retard your growth. So what many of us actually need more of is cholesterol and saturated fat. That's right, we need more cholesterol, more saturated fat. Cholesterol usually gets a bad rap because people think it's responsible for clogging up arteries, but that's only half of the truth. And as we've heard the old saying, a half truth is a whole lie. When cholesterol builds up in the arterial system, it's because there was a pre-existing condition or an issue like inflammation inside the blood vessels that necessitated the body to repair it. And cholesterol makes the repairs. Then cholesterol gets blamed for clogging the arteries when the real damage was done by a diet that was likely high in refined sugars that causes lesions in the arteries that cholesterol has to repair. Let's talk quickly about saturated fats now. Saturated fat actually facilitates important signaling and stabilization processes throughout the body and serves as a catalyst for the delivery of calcium into the bones. Unlike other types of oils that we've discussed, saturated fat is unique in that it's immune to oxidation reactions because it doesn't contain any double bonds. In other words, it's not vulnerable to toxic changes from extreme heat. Here's some of the foods that we eat on a regular basis that contain large amounts of saturated fat. Coconut oil, 86% saturated. Palm kernel oil is 82% saturated fat. Cocoa butter is 60% saturated fat. Butter is 51% saturated fat. These are our go-to sources of saturated fat and corresponding vital nutrients, and two of the best superfoods that a human being can eat. Hope you've learned a lot from this, and we'll see you next time. God bless.